You're listening to a Stand Up New York podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to A Girl's Guide. My name is Chanel Ali. I'm a stand-up comedian in New York City, and I host this podcast where I have my funny friends on, and we give you tips and tools to handle all the smoke in your life better. Any kind of smoke. We're talking about actual smoke that's coming off something that you lit. We're talking about smoke at a party because somebody is asking you what's up with it, and we're going to teach you how to respond. Today, I'm really excited for my guest. She's so funny, kills it all over the country, and has an incredible podcast called How Come, where she explores sexuality and just teaching people how to reach this elusive O. Everybody, please welcome Remy Kassimir.
Thank you. What a nice intro. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to give you some tips.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine, like, do your parents know you have a podcast about coming?
Of course.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, okay, sweetie.
Yes. My parents are both medical professionals, and so they have always understood that orgasms are not just, like, important, like, in a social sense, but, like, they're medically important. Like, it's good for your body to come.
I agree, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I think some of the most angstiest entertainers that we have ever met, they just don't
They're just
come
pent
enough.
up.
They don't come enough, or they're coming in like this fake way, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like performative.
Yeah. Where it's like they're just doing it to do it. It's not very holistic. They're not really feeling it. Yeah.
I went on your podcast. You
Yes,
guys can
you
listen to
did.
it. It's a great episode.
It's such a fun episode.
We talked about how I've been coming since coming was a coming thing. And yes, it's like way back in the day, but you first orgasmed at what age?
28.
Oh man.
Yeah, I started the whole podcast because I had never come.
Right.
And so the title, How Come? Because I wanted to know why. And I also wanted like to just learn how. Like I initially really didn't think that like female orgasms were a thing.
Oh,
I just thought it was like a myth.
I can't believe I was your friend that long. You didn't ask me about it.
But that was the thing is when I started stand-up, I saw other people doing stand-up about it and then like actually openly talking about it. And it was like women and non-binary people with vulvas or whatever would be talking about their orgasms on stage. And I'd be like, what? And I just felt like so left out.
Wow. Because I have a code with like most of my girlfriends.
Do you?
Where if we're checking in with each other, we'll say, yo, you out here? Mm-hmm. And that just means you've been coming. That's just what that means.
I have now.
So you are out here actively?
Yeah.
Yeah. I stay out here.
But I was in there for a long time.
Oh my gosh.
And it sucked.
Did you hear the pain in my voice?
Yeah,
like
no.
when you, and we've talked about this a few times,
Yeah.
but every time you remind me that for 28 years of your life, you weren't coming.
It's
I'm like,
so sad.
That is many.
Yeah. And it's shocking, but we've had somebody on How Come who had her first orgasm at 50 because she listened to the podcast.
I
and
love that.
Did all the assignments that I did. Yeah.
Is it like a cross? Is it like this meeting of the minds where it's like you really feel like you're helping people, but also it's kind of like a sexy thing?
Mm-hmm. It's okay. So it's weird, first of all, because
Yeah.
I started it 100% selfishly.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people have said, "Oh my, and you're doing the Lord's work," or you know something like that. And I'm like, that's a lot of pressure, and also
Yes.
you need to know that I started it for me. However, it is very nice runoff that it does help other people.
Yeah.
But then again, the sexy thing, it is a little weird.
Yeah.
Like there will be episodes where people are talking about stuff and like everybody gets horny,
Whoa.
you know? And it's like, there are moments like that where I like kind of like pull back. I'm like, what are we doing here?
you're laughing in a funny way.
Yeah. I'm like, is this weird?
That is kind of strange. But you're in a relationship, and does your partner join you for some of these things? Like, other than being on the podcast, do they come with you to like events and stuff like that? And you guys are both on stage like, I made her come!
He doesn't really talk about making me come on stage.
He's like, she's got it.
Yeah, that's my brand. But yeah, he was involved in a few things in the beginning because after I like achieved my first orgasm, I was like, oh, should I just like shut this podcast down?
What?
Like I did it. Well, because I was like, we
like,
did it. We accomplished the goal.
hypothesis
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
I can come.
Yeah. Podcast complete.
Yeah. What am I going to do? Just come over and over again?
Yeah. That would be so annoying. No, but then people were like, well, okay, you've achieved it with like a toy, but like we'd like to see you do it like manually. Like, can you do it with another person? Like,
yeah.
And Ben did get involved, but then I started to be like, you know, sensitive to his feelings because he didn't sign up to be a sex podcaster.
Absolutely, yeah.
However, like, there are things that we'll do now that we'll be like, yeah, this isn't for sharing yet.
Right. But eventually you'll maybe get around to it, or maybe never.
Yeah. Sometimes never.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a week from the thing. Sometimes the next day that it was like, oh, that was actually really fun. Can I talk about this? And he's like, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so dope. And so you guys both smoke.
A lot.
And this podcast is a lot about smoking and having a good time.
Yeah.
And I would love to give our listeners some tips about smoking specifically with guys.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I remember one of the first times that I went on a date with a guy and like we went back to his house and we really smoked. Mm-hmm. I got way too high. Mm-hmm. And I remember calling my friend from the bathroom and she was too high where she was. And so then we just laughed at each other in bathrooms in different states.
Yes.
And it just wasn't a helpful conversation, you know?
Right.
But then the next day I was like, man, I wish you would have really like told me to take a breath and like reminded me that like,
But she
hey,
was so high too.
She was so high. So it was really fun and funny.
Yeah.
And eventually I dated that guy for like years. So he loved it. He had a great time with it.
I was going to say, how did he respond?
Yeah. Well, something that I learned that day, and I think it's really important, is that we shouldn't be afraid to like be honest with a guy about where we are in our high.
Yeah.
You know, if we're smoking or hanging out cordially, I don't have a problem telling someone like, at my wildest, I've told a guy, I'm so lit, I need to go shower right now. Mm-hmm. Can you go get me a towel and whatever, and then like leave me alone for an hour and a half?
Yeah.
And then even like at my very chill, I've said to a guy, I just need you to open a window.
For sure.
It's just too stuffy in here for us to be smoking whatever. But
I think that is exactly correct because everything that we talk about on How Come is like communication and stuff. Mm-hmm. And like so many people don't want to communicate stuff because they don't want to be a burden to another person.
Yeah.
But if you are literally getting so high that you're feeling uncomfortable, and this is like a first date or a third date or whatever date, they might perceive that like body language as like, oh, they're
Something
not comfortable
else.
with me anymore.
Something else completely, yeah.
Yeah. And so I always think it's like best to just kind of be like, oh my God, I'm like kind of freaking out.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Show them the multitudes that you have and how you handle it, or give them an opportunity to help you. I think you can learn so much about somebody very quickly.
Yeah. This is not fair to say to people who are dating, but like we've been in a relationship for a long time, but like the other day, I think Ben was talking to me about something and I had been smoking and I go, I just started spiraling. I was like, could we stop talking about what you're talking about for a second? Because something you just said like literally made me spiral.
And I'm going down the tunnel fast, baby.
Yeah. And he was like, do you want to share it with me? And I was like, I really do. Like I need to just get it out of my head and like, you know?
Yeah.
It's always fun to do with someone, unless they don't understand the spiral. And then you're like, I feel crazy.
You're like, go get a pen and paper. I'll draw it.
Yeah.
I'll map it out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to communicate, ask for things that I need. But one thing I love about smoking with a new love interest is that some of the pretense disappears, especially with guys who are always like, when you're first trying to get to know them, they're very much like, I'm so cool. This is how I move my arms all the time. And when I pick something up, I do it so smooth, you know? But then when they're lit, they're like, oh, you know, they can be a little bit of like
silly,
who they really are, but also mixed with like just being uninhibited.
Yeah.
And I just love that. I love watching somebody overcome a conflict, whether small or big. Like, how are you gonna open this jar? You know, how are you gonna find somebody to bring us food right now? It's very late. You know, I like watching somebody in those moments decide like, can I be silly with this and not be perfect at it?
Yeah.
And then, you know, parts of their personality come out. But yeah, I also think it's important not to lay down. Like, don't smoke with a guy and then just lay down. Not even on some sexy time. Just like, don't lay down and try to be cute. Like, oh, so what kind of water do you like? Like, just don't do that.
You'll fall off the bed like Cher Horowitz.
You'll fall off the bed. We've seen it in movie after movie after movie. You don't have good balance because you're high.
Because you're so high.
And also, like, we're getting lit, and so our blood flow is important. And if you lay, it's super concentrated. And I just think...
Also, you might fall asleep.
You could fall asleep.
I've fallen asleep in so many places that are so embarrassing.
You have?
Yeah.
You're one of those people when you get lit, you get comfortable?
Yeah.
I'm not that way.
Yeah, and I had to learn from that because I literally like went to a party once.
Yeah.
Got so high, fell asleep. It was a New Year's party. I fell asleep before the ball dropped.
Oh, wow.
The friend who brought me to the party never spoke to me again.
She was embarrassed? She's kind of lame for that, but...
Yeah.
You know, it could have been way worse.
Not going to disagree with that, but yeah, don't fall asleep. Because also, you don't know this person.
You don't know. You don't know. And you don't know what's... Also, I always feel like we're afraid sometimes to cough when we're smoking around people for the first time. Like, we're afraid to, like, have a coughing spell or just expel in a weird way. And I think those moments give us real opportunities to mess with the other person and to be silly, you know? If a guy passes me something, it's the first time smoking and it makes me cough, which is really saying something. Because it takes a lot to make me cough when I'm smoking. I'll smoke a whole blunt. Won't feel a thing. If he really makes me cough, I'm like, what's this, PCP? You know, I'm going to start joking with him and playing around with the scenario so that I'm comfortable with this weird sound that I can't.
But also, keep a water bottle on hand or
Stay
something.
Hydrated,
like, you will cough. Plan to cough.
Yeah.
And if you're with somebody that you haven't hung out with before, like, you're probably holding in a fart too.
Yes.
So
all this gas building inside of you.
Right. Like, take little bathroom trips, maybe pre-smoke, get the farts out so that nothing comes out with a cough.
Spread the cheeks.
Have you ever farted and coughed at the same time? It's so embarrassing.
Plenty of times.
But like in front of a new love.
Even worse than that, I one time was smoking with like a love interest, and right when I took a big drag, I needed to sneeze. And you know, so terrible. And you know when you have to force out smoke like that, it's like, it's going to burn, you're going to get higher.
It's so painful.
And so I made a decision mentally that I was like, I'm going to sneeze and not let the smoke out. And so I did, and somehow survived it, didn't have an aneurysm, and came back to tell the story the next day, but
you didn't have anything shooting out of your nose?
Pain in the roof of my mouth and the back of my throat. And then I was like, I just didn't want to smoke anymore because it had been such a harsh experience.
Scary.
Yeah.
There have been times that Ben has been smoking and I think trying to keep the smoke in, and then the snot and we've been together 7 years. He'll be like, don't look at me. Like, you don't want to do that in front of a new person.
Absolutely. But after a while, I'm like, can you handle this snot? Because I got bad allergies and I want to make sure, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like natural.
Yeah.
I always think there's this weird thing where it's like sometimes people want to be strange about saliva and mucus, and I'm like, bro, if we're sleeping together, like,
you eat my ass.
You know there's mucus down there.
Yeah.
Okay?
And the mucus makes it fun.
Right. You love that mucus.
Yeah.
That's your favorite
That's your
mucus.
favorite thing about me.
It comes from the same place. It's lubrication at every avenue.
Yeah.
So don't act like you can't get me a tissue because I just sneezed in my hand.
Yeah.
And I need your help right now.
Yeah.
If I came in my hand, you would think it was hot.
Totally.
But this different kind of mucus you don't like.
Fuck that.
I've been reading a lot about IUDs lately, so I know all about mucus down there.
Are you going to get one?
I have one already. It's expired, though.
Oh.
And I need to get a new one. Yeah. And I was right on time with it. Like, my appointment was the day of. The lady was impressed. She said, people come in, because I was worried, like, hurry up.
Yeah.
It's the medicine stopped. Get a foreign body. She was like, people leave this shit in for years. I can't even believe that you even came this accurately.
And did you go because you knew?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
5 years to the day. I knew it was up.
That's unreal. I went the same time, but it was like an accident. It was just for like a checkup. And they were like, oh, this needs to come out now. And I was like, fab.
Also, shout out to the hot girls in New York City because I couldn't get it that day because my IUD is sold out. So I see y'all. Y'all out here.
Wearing their sundresses.
Out here getting it and also not leaving it in. I see y'all.
Yeah.
I see y'all and I like it. I'm trying to start a crusade where we shut down baby making for a while. Just for a while.
Listen, I have shut it down within myself for a very long time. And I think parenthood is a very serious thing that, like, not a lot of people seem to take seriously. Obviously, there's, like, really good parents out there, but, like...
And it seems kind of nice. Like, obviously, something happens when you have a baby where you feel things about it. Because I always see these stories of women being like, well, my baby father is not doing this, and I'm going to take him to court, and blah, blah, blah. And I always felt like, just drop the baby off. Just drop the baby off. But
with him?
See? You see how you react?
Yeah.
With him? Of course.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea.
Right.
But right now, in my selfish mind,
I'm very protective over this imaginary baby.
Imaginary baby. See, you're already close to it. But I'm sure that if I did have a real baby here and a real baby daddy who was shit, I would be like, no, I'm going to take care of my baby. But right now, 100%. I don't feel that emotion. Right now, I don't feel that emotion at all.
If there was a baby thrust upon me,
yeah,
I would take care of it. Like, I've literally had dreams where somebody else, like, couldn't take care of their baby and they, like, left it with me. And I was like, I guess I have a baby now.
Wow.
But I'm not going to, like, make the decision. Like, I'm a depressed person who's aware of the times that we're living in. Like, why would I do that to somebody?
When I get to...
Want to raise a kid to hate me?
No. Or not think I'm funny because it's...
Or not think I'm funny.
I think I'm annoying.
Yeah.
When I get to a middle of a blunt, like when I'm really smoking and I'm really starting to feel it, it's in those moments that I'm the most thankful that I don't have kids. Mm-hmm. It's right there when I'm like, what is it, Thursday? What day is it?
Yeah.
Ooh, so happy I ain't got no kids.
I'll think about my nephew and I'll like giggle to myself about him. And I'm like, I'm so happy that feeding him's not my responsibility.
It's like, I'll just see him when I see him.
I'll see him when I see him.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously it gets messy when you have a kid. Like, then you're like tied to somebody. And that's something else I want to talk about on our episode is breakups.
Yes.
How are you with breakups?
I'm not amazing.
Have you had like big breakups in your life?
So I've only been in 2, I would say, serious relationships.
Because she wasn't coming, y'all.
Literally.
You see what happens?
Literally.
She's not going to stick around, y'all.
But I think, and I don't want to throw my parents under the bus. My parents are
I'll
no
blame
longer together.
Oh, okay.
But they took a very long time to get to that place. And
watching that deteriorate.
well, just watching nobody really make a decision, I think. So in my last relationship, I think I stayed in a lot longer than I wanted to, just because there's this like idea of what a successful relationship is, and that's a relationship that continues.
Yeah.
You know, whereas you can have a successful relationship that does end. It doesn't take away from the relationship. It just means it wasn't meant to be. But I always saw ending a relationship as like failure.
Weakness.
Giving
up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that people can take away from me is it is definitely not a weak thing. It's actually very strong to break up with somebody because you are emotionally connected to them. There are feelings of comfortability. They know everything about you, you know, like you always see those memes of people being like going from like sharing your most inner thoughts with people to like
strangers,
being like,
people
what's your favorite color?
Yes, yes.
People don't like to start over. Like there are a lot of people who are doing something which is called fear-based dating, which is just staying in relationships because you think dating out there is shit no matter what. There is nobody else.
Yeah, shots fired. Remy's hitting me.
And myself.
No, I'm joking.
Myself,
I feel no shame.
Yeah. I can only say it because I went through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think the coolest thing, not the coolest, but the best thing that you can do for yourself in a relationship that's no longer serving you, and the best thing you can do for the other person, let them go.
Yes. You know what I said to a good girlfriend not too long ago? She was having a really, really terrible breakup. And I was saying to her, like, even if you want this guy back, even if you want to get to the other side where you forgive him and he comes back to you and everything is good, he actually can't be with the version of you that you are right now.
Yeah.
Because who you are right now is somebody who's triggered and who's feeling vulnerable and is feeling anxious and all of the things that you aren't naturally. You're not naturally this wound up, but you are this way right now because you have to heal from the things that you guys have just been through. So even if you guys are meant to be, you still have to go through it. You still have to heal and take some time from him and really sit with it. As Usher says, let it burn.
Some people don't believe in breaks. Do you believe in breaks?
Yeah, I like a good break.
Yeah.
I also believe in practicing detachment. It's something that I've had to work on, especially I think because I always talk about on this podcast how I grew up without parents, and I think that creates a level of like wanting a safety blanket so bad that early in my dating life I had to learn like you cannot make somebody your everything. Not any one person can be your everything. There has to be a lot of relationships in your life that facilitate the love that you need, and one of the main ones has to come from yourself.
100%. That's oh no.
Yeah, fuck that clock. I don't need it.
It was just too much real conversation going on for the clock.
Yeah.
The clock wants to break up with their partner.
It's just the ghost of our exes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to like foster these relationships in your life and not let one person become everything.
Yes. So this is a thing that I think I went through with my ex because he was my first like real boyfriend. And up to that point, I thought you will be completed by a man. you know, or another person.
A partnership.
That is the thing that's going to give you validity, and it's going to be the thing that makes you feel like a whole human.
And you'll have an amazing carousel on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, with the ring, and you're surprised, and and now we're on the honey, you know.
Have like events for people to celebrate you now.
Registries.
Literally, like, how exciting. And then while I was with him, I remember thinking about other people because I still wasn't complete. And I was like, would other people complete me? You know? And it's like, even though he wasn't the right person for me, still know about the other people.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to think you deserve those other people until you're a version of yourself that like you would date.
Absolutely.
Which is a really harsh reality to come to.
It takes time to get there for sure.
And even there are like mornings sometimes that I wake up and I'm just like, Jesus, I wouldn't date me. You know, and then I look at,
dang, this is a lot on somebody.
I look at Ben and I'm like, ooh, you have like no standards.
Sometimes when a guy makes time for me in his schedule and I'm giving him not much to work with, I'm like, you're desperate.
Yeah, you're a loser.
I just told you I can only see you on the 1st or the 14th. You're hype. So I always say that in the first few days, weeks of a breakup, you have to limit your litness of choice, you know, not too much smoking, not too much drinking. I think it's okay to get elevated, but we don't want to like numb ourselves, you know, because I think that prolongs the actual healing.
Right.
We actually have to do the actual usher, let it burn, and sit with it. And I think the easiest way for me was to just like write it out, write a journal, write a letter, say the hard things, the easy things, the things that you wish you could have said, like give yourself space to have those valid thoughts and acknowledge them.
Voice notes. My favorite thing, even now.
Really?
Like, yeah. Sometimes if it's like not time for therapy yet.
Yes.
This week. I'll just yell something into my voice note or whatever.
I just don't trust technology that much.
You think it'll send it to somebody?
Yeah. Or I'll send it to somebody in some crazy manic state, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but honestly, then they'd be like, this is high art.
Yes.
Emphasis on the high.
Yes. And you can always say, oh, I was auditioning. That was a period piece. I think music therapy is important. I make a playlist when I'm setting up to break up with somebody.
Smart.
I make a playlist.
Do you make it sad or do you make it exciting?
I think I make it like apprehensive. It's like that all of the songs have this energy of, you know what you gotta do, girl. We not playing this game. Yeah. No. Cause you know he gonna do it again.
And I change my keys to the house.
Yep. See, you know the songs. You know the songs, girl. Go ahead and change that password. But yeah, playlist to get ready for the breakup, a playlist for the breakup when you're in the throes, a playlist for maybe just like missing love, maybe not necessarily that person, but missing love and interaction. And then also a playlist that's just like on the other side of it, you know, like the peaceful, we had fun and that was a good time. Sometimes it was shitty, but that was a good time. And I can like have a life where I'm grateful for pain and love in almost equal amounts.
My friend is going through a breakup right now, and she just was telling me about her playlist. And she said she started off with The Scientist by Coldplay.
Oh, wow.
Which is
jumping in.
Deep. Like,
jumping right in.
That is cold turkey.
Yes,
like,
let's get to it.
We're past it. Nobody said it was easy. It's such a shame for us to part. And then you think about who was singing the song and the fact that he's like the king of conscious uncoupling. And you're like, they've been apart for a long time and they're fine.
And they be knowing.
We'll be fine.
They be knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Music playlists. I'm going to check my notes, my breakup notes. Make sure we don't miss anything. Because these babies out here are crying and they don't have
friends around.
Oh, yes. Friends and family.
Who hated the partner, preferably.
Yes. I always say date yourself, but on a real scale. I see people say this all the time, like it's important to date yourself, but I mean it like legitimately to the point where, let's say I'm walking past a store, I'll look at myself in the glass and pretend I'm another person and say, Chanel, what do you want to do today?
Yes. Yeah.
And then I will answer myself, you know what? I want to stop by Sephora and get that makeup. I have been talking about it. I cannot stop talking about it. I really want to go get it. And after that, it would be so great if we had some tacos. And then what? After that, I would love to go buy a walk for the water. Imagine that person that you love so much. They're saying it to you, but it is you. It's actually your reflection talking to you.
And you're agreeing with everything that you're putting out there.
And you feel so loved that you're even thinking of what would make you so happy. And then go do those things.
I've talked about this on How Come, where it's like people think of sex as just like with another person, but like a lot of where you have to start with sex is like with yourself. And it's not just like, oh, that means like go masturbate, but like I had to like learn to give myself license to like caress other parts of my body for my enjoyment, or like kiss my own shoulder or whatever. Like I've talked dirty to myself at this point, like a lot. And like, even like what you're saying of like looking in the mirror and being like, what do you want to do today? Like sometimes I'll be like, Remy, like you need to get up, and I'll go, I don't want to. It's like, well, we know we have to, right? And then give your little self like a little pat on the butt and get up.
Absolutely. And it helps even more if you can give yourself rewards. Like I'll be like, yo, Chanel, if you handle all this and you take this podcast and you do that and that and that, girl, you can smoke a blunt.
My favorite dating yourself while being a stoner thing is when you hide snacks around for yourself that you forget about later.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my God, she's so nice to
Thoughtful.
me. Yeah.
Thoughtful, knows that I love these gummy bears. And look, here they are, ready to go.
In the freezer.
Yes. I like to, especially when I'm in a green room, I love to like grab some fruit, things like that. And then later on find it in my bag. I'm like, look at you, taking care of you. I got really high on a plane. Do you do that? Do you smoke before you get on the plane?
I'll smirk.
Smirk it up.
I'll smoke before, yeah.
Yeah, you'll smoke before, but edibles?
Yeah, if I have edibles, I don't often buy them though. I should.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're never really strong enough, which sounds crazy.
I understand that. I just got back from Seattle, and I'll tell you what, out there, they're doing them.
Yeah.
Because I tried this drink. It was like 100 milligram in a bottle, but it was like an airplane nip size. I drank half of it, like 50 milligrams. That was more than 50 milligrams because I went through it and came back. I was on a plane, but also I was flying.
You were not there. Yeah.
I flew myself in the plane.
Did it hit you before going through like all of the checks?
Oh, no, it was an early morning flight. It was like a 6 a.m. flight. So it actually hit me when I woke up on the plane. So I drank it before I got on. And then like halfway through I woke up. And as soon as I woke up, I was like through the roof.
Yeah.
And so then I went through that moment where you're like, am I about to freak out? Oh my God, I think I'm about to freak out. And I was sitting in the middle seat. So I was like, well, Chanel, you could wake up all of these people and kind of cause a little commotion to get over there to freak out. Or you could just freak out right here quietly and nobody will know. And so my tips for when you're freaking out on an edible is first to remind yourself that nobody dies from this, that it will pass. Also, I think a quick breath, like a quick inhale, a little like that, just like forcing into your body that oxygen really helps, because we don't realize when we're so lit that we're not taking good breaths, really not fulfilling that oxygen CO2 transfer.
Anytime I'm stressed, I hold my breath.
Oh yes, absolutely. Especially when we're about to do something, we're like getting ready to do it, and you can just like really throw yourself
in through
over.
the nose, out through the mouth.
A quick breath inhale would do it. Drinking some water. And then I like to do something that centers me, which is usually I'll untie my shoes and then tie them back.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because I'm reminding myself that I am in control of my body. Look, I can command my hands and my arms and my feet to do this one thing. So I'm not really that out of control, but I do feel,
I love
crazy.
that. There's also like meditation techniques of like just look around and like try to find 3 things that are red. You try to find 3 things that are red. Okay, now 3 things that are green. And it's just like, okay, now try to find something that you can hear. And you just get your senses back and you feel like more grounded.
Yeah, because I think that sometimes, especially when it comes to edibles, people who have had bad experiences, they pull back from it so much that they don't experience certain depths of being high, because they're always like, no, I just can't control it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, sometimes that couple of minutes of uncomfortable is on the other side of something where you really enjoy it and really like go for the ride. So those tools are helpful. Also, spicy food will bring you down a little.
Really?
Really quickly, if you can get some spicy food, that'll help you. Eating definitely brings you down.
I thought of an edible that I do like because you
What?
mentioned Seattle. So Portland, Oregon has really good like
Everything.
Rice Krispie treat
Oh,
edibles.
okay.
That used to get me so high. And as you know, I was there for lockdown times with
Right.
Ben and his parents.
Right.
I would eat these little ones because we didn't want to like smoke before dinner because we'd like smell.
Yeah.
So Ben would give me these edibles and I would lay down on the floor like to watch Jeopardy or whatever and pass out in
Yes.
front of both of these parents.
They'd be like, she's exhausted.
Yeah. But then I would like pretend, you know, when you're sleeping and you pretend you're not sleeping, like a Jeopardy answer, like somebody would be like, oh, this. And I go, yeah.
When you hear something happen, you
Like
go,
you were,
"Ah."
that was the right answer. Like you're sleeping.
No, I'm watching with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
So when I was on the plane the other day, I'm like super high and like halfway through the flight, one of the stewardess gets on the intercom and she's like, ladies and gentlemen, is there a doctor aboard the plane? We have a medical emergency in the back. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's a doctor aboard the plane, please come to the back of the plane. You know, we need a doctor, blah, blah, blah. And she says it very calmly. Like, it's not an emergency, whatever. And this really hot guy gets up and, like, begrudgingly walks to the back of the plane. Like, it's so, every time I'm being hot in the doctor, somebody calls me. He, like, threw his hair back and blah, blah. And he went back there and, like, fixed this guy up. It was, like, some old guy who I think was just feeling uncomfortable. He, like, checked his vitals really quick, blah, blah, blah. But even sitting there being so high, I just instantly got jealous. I got so jealous that the sick guy was getting so much attention, and then even more jealous that this doctor gets to sometimes just get on planes and have to, like, display his self-worth.
Yeah.
And I wanted somebody to say, is there a comedian on the plane?
Would somebody like to make us giggle
Is there
while
a funny
this traumatic event is going
There's
on?
4 toddlers in the back. If a funny lady is here who could possibly, we are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know? It's just we never get calls like that to, because I feel like a doctor spends how many years in med school and doing the thing and
Yeah.
they get to a certain point where we don't know those guys' qualifications. He was just a guy who said, I'm a doctor.
For sure.
Call on me. I would like to be the comedian on the plane.
See, when you were high and he got up, I thought you were going to be like, how does he know I'm not okay?
Is there a doctor on the plane? Because the girl in
Chanel is
17B
freaking out.
needs help. And she's looking around wildly, but not pressing the button.
Yeah.
So if somebody could go and help her, I would have been so impressed. If he would have came up to me and be like, you did it, didn't you? I'd be like, fuck, yeah.
It's a fun way to get a date on a plane, though. Like,
Yeah.
is anybody a doctor on this plane? And then, like, he comes back and it's like, there's a single woman.
But I also am like, absolutely, I do not play when it comes to being too lit on a public anything where somebody could think it's a medical emergency. Like, that's where I draw the line. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would rather freak out independently in the bathroom than make them feel like we got to turn this plane around, you know?
Totally.
Because one time I was even lit with another lady comic and we had taken some edibles and then we were going to get on a boat, like some ferry ride.
Okay.
And right before we got on the boat, she like passed out a little. Like I caught her,
Yeah.
and like I laid her down and we're like causing a scene on the dock.
Yeah.
And then when she came to, she was like, oh man, hurry up, we're gonna miss the boat. I was like, bitch, we are not getting on the boat.
She's like, I'm not sleeping.
It's not a boat day for us.
Yeah.
We can't do it.
Yeah,
She was
you're
just like-
done.
She was shocked by it. And I was like, no, we're not having a medical emergency on the water.
Oh, my God. Do you remember my old bar show?
I don't know. Where was
Back
it
in the
at?
day, it was called Our Famous Friends, and our gimmick was if you
Okay.
stayed for the whole time, we would smoke you out. And
I don't know if I knew that. All right,
Yeah.
so I might have stayed longer.
no, I think you definitely stayed. I've
right.
got pictures of us smoking together.
Okay, then
You're
fine.
just so
I
high
believe
all
it.
the time. But we had this returning audience member who was like in her 60s, and like most of the time she would never smoke, and then one day she decided, I'm just gonna, like, why not? And it was like the same thing. She was like about to pass out and was like holding the doors of the venue, and I had to catch her head.
Yes.
And then she was like, oh, is the show over? I'm like, go home.
Get out of here, lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't understand that. Like, I have such an urge to retreat if I feel like I've
Same.
gotten too lit. So when I see people not make that decision, I'm like, so you're just gonna be like this in front of us?
Yeah. Put me in my bed, feed me some snacks.
Yeah, I always, I got the at least Uber to get home.
Yeah.
I had planned it just in case I got too lit. Also, I think if you're too lit, something I think really helps me is to laugh at yourself.
100%.
If you bump into something, you're like, look at my high ass.
Mm-hmm. And think of it in like a cute way too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just so high and cute.
Yeah.
being silly by myself.
I can't even put these shoes on right. Look how high I am.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks I'm drunk. I'm
If
so
I was
high.
on the Truman Show right now, people would be having like a bit of a laugh with me.
Yo, they would be like, what is in
Yeah.
that? What did she have?
So wait, when you are seeing a new person to date, how quickly will you smoke with them alone?
Pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And do you do it at home or like on the streets? Because like it's not like drinking where you can like go on a date and like have a joint.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I've definitely done it on first dates, and I think that in connecting with a guy, that's something I'll ask pretty early on. Like, do you smoke? Are you a smoker? And it's okay if they're not, as long as they don't make me feel like it's such a thing.
Yeah.
Because I've also dated non-smokers before who made me feel like, oh, it's 2 p.m. Do you need to go smoke? And I'm like, I actually don't have a schedule.
Same. Or they'll be like, you're smoking again.
Don't need
and
you to
it's like,
monitor.
you do cocaine.
It's crazy. I don't need you to monitor how much I'm partying because I do this all the time without you. But yeah, I like to get lit around somebody pretty quickly and like not like blown out of my mind, but comfortably. I think it helps with conversation. I think I have a high personality, so yeah, I smoke pretty quickly. I'll smoke alone with them for sure, but also like I'm not gonna let them take me somewhere. You know,
That's what I'm thinking about.
I think I more so do it to punk men to show them up top, like I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah.
You can't out high me.
Yeah.
Try.
Yeah. You're like the cool girl that's like, I can drink you under the table.
Yeah.
But I find it annoying. I think there will be more places now that it's like more legal that you can like ask somebody on a first date and like share a joint with them or smoke a joint across from them or something.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I don't know, when I was dating, if like you wanted to smoke with somebody, you couldn't even smoke on the street yet, really.
Yes.
So it's like you have to invite them back to your house or their house. And then like those environments, like you kind of can feel a little trapped sometimes.
Oh yeah, totally. And that's like I said, one time I was on a first date with a guy and I got too high, laid down at his house. We were just laying down talking.
Yeah.
And I text my friend like, yo, I remember saying to her, I'm Scooby-Doo high.
Yeah.
Which is like that's not even like a
That's what I'm
barometer
saying.
that we used to use.
Yeah.
So we never talked about cartoons like that.
Yeah.
But I want her to know this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
And
you're
like,
running through doors and going into other doors. and
I'm
going
trying
back.
to find a murder.
Yeah.
in here.
You're actually not Chanel. You need to pull off your head.
There's
You're
no
someone
dog,
else
but
entirely.
I hear a dog. But yeah, just lit as hell. And then I smoked a lot in that relationship. I ended up being with that guy for a while, and we used to smoke a lot. It was like something that I felt like we were really connected in. But then when I became a comedian, we had a really ugly breakup because he didn't like that I was smoking with other guys. He didn't like that. It became like this instant demonization of this thing that we had done together all the time.
Because it felt so intimate.
It felt very intimate to him. So like
Yeah.
the first time that he saw me and I was like visibly high because I had smoked with Jill Scott's band, which is a really cool thing to say.
Yeah.
And I was excited to tell my weed boyfriend at the time, yo, I just smoked with Jill Scott's band. It's so cool. But you know, like they want to smoke with you too. Come on. He was like, that's not just weed. You're not just on weed. And
This is polyamory now.
I was totally just on weed, you know? Like
yeah.
I couldn't even fathom at that point in my life doing anything else. So it just blew my mind that like in a minute I went from being his cool girlfriend who liked to smoke weed to a groupie who just gets high with whoever.
And betrayed him.
And you just can't be trusted, you little slut.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, we're just smoking weed, the same weed you smoke every day, kid.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but then when we had a breakup, that was because I became a comedian and he wasn't supportive.
Right.
And I remember when we broke up, that conversation, I had called him and I was like, what'd you do last night? Because he had said he couldn't go to my show. And whatever his excuse was like he had to take his car to the shop. He didn't go do that thing. So instead, he was just home all night. And I didn't have a car. So to get to my own show, I had to like take a bus and a train and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, well, you know, my car was broke. And I just, you know, I told you I wasn't coming. And I was just like, I break up with you. And he was like, what? I was like, I break up with you. And he's like, you can't just declare it like bankruptcy. I was like, I break up with you.
You're sued. I break up with you.
Here and now.
Yeah.
Note the time we break up because you're doing this now. And this
The patient is called at
dead. DOA.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
And I just remember feeling like, if you're going to act this way now, and this is so early in my career, this is like a small gig that like you could come out to. And back then I didn't have that many gigs. So yeah, I broke up with him then. And for the next few days, he definitely tried to entice me with like weed and like trips to Jamaica and stuff like that. And I was so tempted.
That is very enticing.
I was so tempted.
Smart man.
I was like, shove it under the rug. I'm a whore. Who cares? You think I did all these drugs? Who cares? But yeah, that was one of those breakups that didn't take me that long to get over because I just knew I was right. I was just like, this is just something that's a small portion of how you're really going to act.
Yeah.
When my career starts taking off, and I'm not going to be explaining and re-explaining how weed works, bro.
Yeah. It's a social thing. Just because you made it intimate. Like, and it's nice that it was intimate for him, but that doesn't mean it was, that you were intimate with anybody else. Have you ever felt, because I don't know, right now I'm kind of in the midst of wanting to take a tea break, a little THC break. I have to go on a vacation where I'm not sure I'll be able to smoke. So I'm like, I should kind of calm down. And I had a little spiral and I said to Ben, I go, because he also wants to wean off. We're both like, we smoke too much. Like it's becoming expensive. And I was like, but what if we don't like each other?
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy that you acknowledge the thing in the room.
Yeah.
Because I've had forced breaks because I was traveling internationally and like didn't want to go to jail for weed. And after a few days, I would say by day 4, I looked in the mirror at myself and asked myself, am I a good person?
Yeah.
Do I feel compassion
Yeah.
for others and have patience with daily activities?
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel that way. I felt like very, I don't want to say triggered, but like
confronted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm high all the time because I would say I on average smoke like twice a day. If my schedule allows, because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'm on a thing and the camera's in my face and I can't be lit.
Yeah.
And I'm never like, oh, I'm fine. But yeah, I just don't know if, especially because of this lifestyle, if I didn't have some type of outlet like that, if it wouldn't, because we're entertainers. We're dealing with people saying no in our face, people booking people that aren't very talented in our face. We're dealing with like rejection.
Equally as painful.
Just so really hard things, I think.
Not booking me and booking someone shitty hurts me the same amount. Yeah.
Wow, in my face.
Yeah.
So I do think that's like sometimes we need a healthy outlet, and a little bit of weed is helpful to me. But I've only taken forced breaks, and I've worried about how I was.
Yeah. And he said to me, he's like, we would still like each other, I think. And I'm like, you think?
You think? You're high right now? You don't know?
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know, man.
And yeah, then we could both be waking up and looking in the mirror and being like, ew. Like, I'd be like, ew, her. And he'd be like, ew, him. And then we wouldn't respect each other for being with those people. So
or what if you guys were just like sober together and angry at the world?
That's what I'm thinking.
All these people in the way.
Yeah.
This traffic.
Yeah. No.
Be careful, kids. You hear that? If you want to take a tea break, be careful. You might not know
chill.
who you are anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely meditate. You have to supplement.
Yeah.
You can't just take that release out of your life.
I'm going to start taking melatonin too, so the sleep's not an issue.
My body thinks melatonin is like a dare.
A dare?
Yeah. When I put melatonin in my body, my body's like, ha ha ha.
Ha. Yeah,
Let's think about everything we ever thought about. Let's bring it all back up. Run your whole life. We're watching a movie.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look that good for me.
Yeah. Well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll keep smoking again. I just like, does anybody know about the Dominican Republic? Like, what's the deal?
It seems like they got everything there.
Yeah.
Every time I look up another TikTok, somebody's like, my name is whatever. I'm going to the Dominican Republic to get a brand new hairline. Let's go. And they just go and do it. And they're like, yeah, everything was included. It cost me $2,300. And now look, I look great. I'm like, you do.
Got a
you
new
look amazing.
hairline. They gave me a gram when I left the hospital.
Yeah. But but I will say that I've only been there once, and I did have a lot of people who were like, I can't believe you, like in Spanish were saying to me like, you need to be speaking Spanish. You should know what your people, and I'm like, I was born in New Jersey.
I'll have to Duolingo. Where is the
Get
weed
ready
in this place?
No, yeah, I love it. And traveling and trying to find drugs is fun.
But scary.
Scary fun.
And the thing is, so this is a bachelorette.
Oh, man.
And I'm not a drinker. So it's going to be like a lot of girls and me and...
Prime opportunity to just take a Viper, which is where you get a fake drink and pretend. prime
Ooh.
opportunity to do that. I've been doing that a lot. I've actually cut back on drinking a lot in the last, I would say, 2 months.
Yeah.
Been getting violently high, but still not really drinking, and that's helped me a lot. Just getting like something that looks like a drink.
Smart.
And being like, ooh, I got this one. I don't even know. I'm still working on this.
Yeah, but make it just taste a little bad so it doesn't, you
Mm-hmm.
don't suck it up too quick.
Yeah, so when you take a sip, you're like, it looks terrible.
That's amazing. We're partying.
You guys don't even want to try this. It's so strong.
Yeah.
Everybody drinks it. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me about breakups and weed and smoking with boys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Any last thoughts you want to give the girls and the friends of girls for smoking and enjoying their sex life?
For smoking and enjoying your sex life, do it.
Ooh.
Like, even if the other person is not a smoker, a lot of really like pleasure is just feeling your senses. And if being high makes you feel better in any other way, you'll probably feel really good while having sex or masturbating. Like, we've had people that wrote in and said that they had their first orgasm because they smoked something or they took an edible, and it was finally like their brain stopped.
Absolutely.
You know? And if you're a person with a vulva, like people with penises, when they get boners, all the blood rushes there. So like there's nothing in their heads at all.
Yeah.
For us, it's a lot less,
Right.
You know? And we get very heady, and that is usually the thing that keeps anyone from like orgasming or just like having a good time in general. So I don't know. Anytime somebody suggests drinking, I'm like, if that is your thing.
Yeah, if you know yourself like that.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people like smoking and banging.
Do it.
Highly recommend.
I've only, I think, been too high to have sex once.
But even if you are and you fall asleep, like that's a lovely way to fall asleep.
We were just too high in terms of like not being able to hold our heads up. We were like, oh man.
New
like,
babies.
You know when you're so lit that you're like seeing everything in frames?
Yeah.
We were like making out and then sleep, and then making out and then sleep. And it was just like hilarious at the end of the day. I
love that though.
No, it was fun.
Yeah.
We made a mess, but
Silly time. That's what's fun about weed is like you were saying in the beginning, it's like the way to see somebody silly. Like the only other times I think you can actually see someone like in their natural environment is with like a massive group of their friends.
Yes.
But if you don't have that, have a little joint together.
Yeah. And I want to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I really go ham on a first date. I'm trying to like get in that head.
Literally.
What's up with you? Can you do
Yeah.
Sesame Street voices? Like, what's up?
Yeah.
Are you too cool?
The date is not going to be memorable to a fun person if it's not fun. If you're just asking the normal like interview style questions.
Yeah.
Like go on some tangents, get super high.
I want to tell you a story from 7th grade, you know,
Yes.
right now.
Yes, that I haven't thought of in years.
But you just made me feel so comfortable,
Yeah.
and the connection has been restored.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the vibe.
Should we smoke?
Yeah, we'll smoke.
Okay.
You guys, make sure you follow Remy. Tell them where to follow you and where to find your stuff.
You guys follow me on the internets where I live, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Remy Kassimir. My podcast, How Come, is How Come Podcast. And I have another podcast with Betches Media called Diet Starts Tomorrow. You can follow that too. But yeah, if you have any questions for me, feel free to DM. I'm very accessible.
Remy Kassimir, everybody, write her with your questions about how to come. Don't write me, because you'll be surprised the harsh shit that I'll tell you. Thank you guys for tuning in to A Girl's Guide. Smoke with a boy if you like him. Smoke with a girl if you like her. And, you know, be silly together. Have fun. And if you're going through a hard breakup, I promise you, you will get through it one day at a time. Make yourself a playlist. Take some deep breaths and date yourself. We love you. Bye.
Bye.